So it's not a saturated problem. The challenge that you have is much different. Is how do I clearly, confidently communicate the value I add and the problem I solve to as many people as possible so they can tell me yes. So there's 5 steps I have to tell you yes. That's number 1. Is very simply just ask more people. You don't have to have any increase in skill. You don't have to have any special script or magical message. All you have to do is give more people the opportunity to tell you yes. That's the first thing anyone can do today to hear yes more often.
Welcome everybody back to another exciting show of the About That Wallet podcast. I have the honor to bring on a ultimate salesperson. He's been speaking for well over 20 years and is the ability to help you hear yes more often without sounding salesy. And his business is called New Skills, New You. And how are you doing today, Bruce?
Man, not just good, I'm great. I might end up on the cover of Frosted Flakes. Thank you.
That's hilarious. So, with your mission of helping people, like changing the minds that change the lives, that also change the world, how has that been so far?
It's been amazing. It's been an adventure. It's been fulfilling. It's been inspiring. It's been successful. And when people ask if you could do it again, would you? I'd do it again. Mm-hmm. I realized that a lot of people are looking for some more. Some people want the same. They're content with where they are. And I'm not talking those people. Love and light to them. But for the folks, it's like, man, how do I get to the next level? How do I get this transformation I see when I close my eyes? I'm talking to them. So as a business, I support startups, micro enterprises, solopreneurs, small businesses, specifically service-based businesses. And I help them have sales success. And that starts with hearing yes more often. But as a person, that impacts everything I do. Every person I talk to, I believe one new skill will change your life. So while I focus on sales skills, and really what would happen if a life coach taught you sales skills? Like, that's the unique value proposition.
Definitely. That'd be pretty cool.
So far, so good.
Yeah. Because with the sales skills, and that's one of the things that got me out to talk to people more, was because I started off, I guess you could say my first sales job was actually selling kitchen cutlery. And during that process, you learn a lot about people's lives because you see the world one way. But until you get into sales, you actually start to feel a little bit of empathy for others if they say no. And it's not like they saying no to you, it's just no to the product.
Ooh, that's good. That's good. Yeah. So shout out to my introverts before we go any further, before they tune out. I really don't want anyone listening to this to become a killer closer or the master manipulator. I want you to be your authentic self. Just one hears yes more often. So for my introverts, one of the things we work on is confidence. You can get very good at talking to people, but I understand that you may not like it. And then you may not want to do it all the time. I don't want it to be a full-time job. But that also means that if you want to talk to less people, a higher percentage of them need to tell you yes. So you don't have to talk to more people. And so that comes from clarity. How effectively are we expressing the problem we solve? And then communication is the words we use, how we communicate that confidence and clarity. So what happens, I think you use a great word for empathy. Let's take the cutlery, for example. You want to realize sales is a service. Sales isn't about taking anything. I'm here to help solve a problem that you may have. And I can feel good about that. I don't have to feel guilty or ashamed. If I'm helping your business make more money, would you really be upset at me for reaching out to you and asking you to buy my new book? Because ultimately you're going to get much more value than you spend in cost. And so for the introverts, I think that's a huge shift to say, hey, look, I don't need to talk to everyone. I just need to talk to the people who have a problem that I can solve. And that is worth their time and energy.
So it goes to at work, because I know we all are salespeople one way or another, whether we think about it or not. We selling ourselves to society, we selling ourselves to each other, and we also got to sell ourselves to either get the job that we want. If you're out there going to try to create it, even if you were to create your own job, you still got to sell yourself to your customers to get to the yes, so you can make a living. So I can see sales going in every aspect of our lives. But when it comes to the work life, because the majority of the people are W-2 workers, and not so much into sales directly, what would you say to those who want to get to that yes at work, to get that promotion?
I think you summed it up very well. It's just, a transaction is what happens after the sale. One definition I really liked and carried with me through the years: sales is a transfer of enthusiasm from one person to another. Okay? It's a transfer of enthusiasm. And so there's oftentimes not an exchange of currency, monetary time, attention, or effort. But that shift helps folks realize, yeah, I could use this. So there's 3 key skills I learned from selling, and those: clarity, confidence, and communication. Who doesn't need confidence, right? If we have a project, you say, hey, man, this is a more efficient way to get it done. You need to clearly and confidently communicate your idea. If it's time for a promotion and they have 4 or 5 candidates, how do I clearly and confidently communicate I'm the best choice for the role? So again, it's not about going into a car dealership and selling cars, slanging iron, but it is about clearly and confidently communicating the value that you add as an individual, no matter which role you're in. You talk to people face to face, email, phone, messenger, Teams. You should have these skills. And that's where I come in. Help you hear yes more often without sounding salesy.
So one of the books, because I want to see what your thoughts are on this. Green Eggs and Ham.
Okay.
I say that was like my first book into sales.
Okay.
Do you believe that's a sales book or not?
Any book where you talk about interactions between 2 people is a sales book. Or 2 or more people, that's a sales book. Okay. Because there's a transfer of enthusiasm. And what did he say? He said, I do not like them. He said, I don't like them over here. I don't like them over there. There was a block from transferring that enthusiasm. You didn't have good sales skills. Right. That's what happens. Man, you got to go see this new movie. It was amazing. Oh, you got to try this new restaurant. It was delicious. And the service was great. And the prices were so, man, you got to go. I don't get any benefit. I don't know. Maybe I have an affiliate link to the restaurant. I don't know. But at the end of the day, that's a sell. You've transferred your enthusiasm for someone into someone else. That's where that transaction starts. The money comes on the back end. So, yes, absolutely a sales book.
Yeah, because I had to reread it last night before this interview, because I was like,
do a little research.
Yeah, a little research, and I was like, It wasn't until he tried it, and I was like, that was the hook, because nobody just say, hey, go see this movie. They say, hey, check out the trailer first and then go see the movie. Like, hey, this movie was amazing. You got to see the trailer. Or is it that's that free sample without them actually buying all in? And I think because people's excitement over the trailer forced people to go see the whole movie. And I think that we also forget to give out the free stuff to a lot of people. Like, so for the promotion side of the house, I was just thinking, it was like, how about you just give me a trial period for 3 months? It's no additional cost. I don't need to get the pay raise or whatever. But if I meet everything, then we can start talking dollars. And if not, hey, I can go back to my position. It's a trial period. Everybody's happy. It's a win-win for everybody.
That's a great technique. So for my service-based businesses, it's tough to have a sample sometimes, to give a trial. Like if I'm power washing houses,
Right.
I can't really give you a sample PowerPoint. So maybe I can do a 2x2 square on your house.
Right.
And so that's one of the things I work with service-based businesses, because they have a unique challenge when it comes to demonstrating their value. Mm-hmm. And so we talk about things about testimonials. We talk about things like case studies. I'm actually working on one now with a book publisher, and he wants to hire a salesperson, but he doesn't have a sales process. So I'm helping him set that up. And so how do you get someone who maybe has never heard of you, who has lots of options to choose from? How do you show them, hey, I'm the best choice for you? And so that's really the challenge that I overcome. It's the problem that I solve for businesses that work with me. A great way to start, though, is that trailer. What is a worksheet? What is, 10 steps to help you get from A to B, right? Something that demonstrates your expertise in that area so people can begin to build confidence in you and your business. And that's where a lot of people say they have to know, like, and trust you. They have to decide to trust you. You have to make sure you don't give them any reasons not to trust you. Trust starts with a decision, because it can't work with you for 5 years and be like, you know what, I do trust you. I'm going to pay you now. It's not going to work. It's not sustainable. They only have to know about you in order to pay you. Nehemiah Davis says they can't flow you if they don't know you, right? They've got to have heard of you. And then when it comes to like you, that's when they get referrals. Well, they like you from working with you, from you adding more value than they spend in cost. So I think we do things out of order. I think the first part is that clarity. They have to understand that what problem you solve. You have to have confidence that you can solve that problem and solve it well. And you need to communicate so that there's no confusion or or uncertainty. You say, hey, look, here's the steps. So we're going to get you from A to D. One really great example I had a gentleman, he's a consultant. I did not effectively communicate the path that we were going to take towards success. So when I sent him the invoice, he didn't pay it. And so he's like, yeah, send it to me. I'll pay it right now. Send it to him, he doesn't pay it. Why not? I didn't communicate effectively. So now I had to go back and figure out where his hesitations were. Well, it comes to find out what he asked me for isn't what his business needed. That's my fault. And so that's going to case study 2. So what do you say when people say no? That's a whole nother conversation. So let's take it back to what you said. A sample is a good idea, but what do you do when you can't give a sample? Because for example, it's a service. What do you do when the cost is too high? You might need a little bit up front. And that's where I come in to help folks. If you can give a sample, you can demonstrate your excellence, or even better, if you can get a testimonial for someone else's work, phenomenal. That's why, even let's talk to our W-2 folks, that's why jobs ask for references. Get you a reference letter. That's all about transferring that enthusiasm. They're excited about working with me, so man, I should work with this guy too. Let's give them a chance, and I'll grow to know, like, and trust you as they work with you.
Right. So I know you said, I got time if you want to dive into why people are pretty much trained to say no and how to get around that.
Well, let's see here. There's a lot to cover. We'll have to grab my book. It's newskillsnewyou.com, and pre-orders is up. We'll have to do it that way, because I still want to talk about how we hear yes more often.
Yes.
That's important.
Yeah. Okay. Because I had a couple questions here of, like, you started off in sales and selling cars and stuff like that.
So we can actually go way back.
Go further back?
My first sales job, I was fundraising for a university.
Oh.
So I was asking people for $10,000, $20,000, $50,000. I wasn't giving them anything. I think they got like a thank you card in the mail, which I don't know about you. That's an expensive thank you card. So you have to understand, people don't buy things for the cost. They buy things for their value. And so you have to go way back. How many years is that now? It's 2022. That was an invaluable experience, because I had to separate. People think, oh, am I overcharging? Is this enough value? They're asking the wrong question. How valuable is this to the person I sell it to? You can sell me electric razors. They could be wonderful. They could be stainless steel. They could be non-cut. They could be self-sharpening. I don't care. If you're listening to the audio, just let you know, I haven't cut my hair in about 7 years, about a full beard on my face. I don't want your razors. Doesn't matter. So to me, it has no value, regardless of the cost. You could pay me to take them, and maybe I would. I wouldn't use them. Mm-hmm. So we have to separate value from cost. That's the first thing. So anyway, yes, I did sell cars. I learned a lot there. But it started with when I had to ask for money and not give people anything. Mm. That's a different level of skill there.
Right. Because I'm thinking about when people give to charities and they usually don't get anything up front. Or you might see like, hey, what the company has done or whatever you gave to them kind of help them in their mission. But to give like more, like you said, just a thank you bag or even just a card, just say, hey, your name is plastered here now. And that's it. Like how it is for libraries. I mean, you can donate as much money as you want to, but now you get your name on a on a wall right now, and that's it. So, but as we go through, trying to get to this, yes. So you talked about some of those skills about gaining that confidence, and confidence is something that can be taught, or are they born with this?
What do you think?
To me, the formula that I use for confidence, confidence, the only way that you can build confidence is by competence, which means that you have to actually understand the product and through repetition. And that will provide you with confidence. Think about it like playing a video game. Mm-hmm. They got the different levels 1, 2, 3. I'll just start with Mario Kart. Most people play Mario Kart. You start with the 50 cc's, then you get up to the 100, then you get up to the 500. The way how that works is that, you got to start small, and it's more times you go around these same laps over and over again. You start to realize how everything, the tricks, and how the layout of the land is going to be. Because you have those repetitions in, now that you got that confidence on your ability to do something. So when you see somebody else that's brand new doing that same exact thing, you tell them, hey, this is going to come up. This is going to happen. But sometimes that doesn't work. They need to learn this on their own. So with that confidence, I just say you have to come through the competence, which is just understanding the process.
That's really good. I define confidence this way, a little lengthy, but I want it to be thorough. Confidence is a clear understanding of who you are and who you are not. It is the belief in the possibilities of who you can be while accepting yourself for who you are today. The good news for everyone listening to this, for everyone watching this, no one is born with confidence. No one is born with any skills. Rest in peace to Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was born, he didn't know anything about basketball. If he had been born in another country, or if his dad had played another sport, he could be a soccer player or football, depending on what country you're in, right? So what do we have to understand about skills? Let's use confidence. Confidence is a skill, which is great news for everyone listening to this, because you can learn confidence and you can grow your confidence. And he said something very key. Confidence comes from competence. Let's break that down even more simple. It comes from practice. So right now, if you say, hey, Bruce, you want to play basketball? I am confident that I'm okay at basketball, right? I am not going to win any scholarships to a university. The NBA is not going to call me. The G League, Summer League is not going to call me. That's okay, though, because if I decided, I say, hey, I could go practice and I can get good and I can go try out, maybe play overseas. And that's where the subtle intricacy of my definition of confidence is so important. I recognize that my level of skill is here. And if I want to, I can increase it if I wanted to. But that doesn't make me any more or less valuable because my skill level is here. So let's bring it back to sales. Some folks, no one is born a salesperson. I do believe some people learn things a little faster. They have a inclination towards different, whether it's art or people. However, anyone can learn to ask better questions. That's a great sales skill. Anyone can learn to listen. That's a great sales skill. Anyone can learn confidence. Another great sales skill. So to the original question, is confidence a skill? Absolutely, yes. If you want to grow it, practice.
I'm looking for a book because I know I have it somewhere. It's called The Art of Asking. And that book is one of my favorite books, because it goes back to what you were saying, is trying to build that confidence in getting yes. Because you hear no often. And I believe you mentioned some time ago that you are only as strong as your last no. Can you explain a little bit on that?
Well, I actually want to quote you on this one. They're not telling you no, they're telling the product no. People say no for two reasons. It doesn't solve the problem they have, or they don't understand the value that it adds. It doesn't solve the problem, or they don't understand the value it adds. One great example I have is I was recommending a service to a young lady, and I was like, "Hey, everyone needs sales skills." She's like, "I don't need sales skills." I'm like, "Oh, sales skills help you increase your clarity, confidence, communicating." She's like, "Oh, I don't want clarity, confidence, communication." And I spent much more time than I'm comfortable admitting trying to convince her to purchase this sales training course. And this is amusing to me because this is exactly what I teach people not to do. We're not here to convince anyone. So I asked a question. It was actually out of frustration. I was like, "Well, what do you want?" She's like, "Oh, I heard you speaking at that conference. Can you help me get ready for my conference?" She ended up paying for it for one-on-one sessions. All right. What happened? Did I become a magical magician when it comes to sales? No. Just ask the better question. So very simple mantra I practice is better questions get better clients.
I like that. But usually those better questions come out of frustration.
Well, that's where people work with me. So you can skip the steps. Right. Just go straight to the good questions.
Right.
I'm actually, that reminds me. I'm working on, so depending on when you hear this, it should be ready. I'm working on a resources team. It ended up being 13. I don't know why. But it's 13 questions everyone should ask their potential client. And there's just questions I've collected over the last 10, 15 years. I'm like, man, that's a good question.
Well, here we talking about giving out those samples. You got one question that you can share with us right now that out of the 13?
One of my favorite questions what does success look like? So a lot of times people have either they don't have an idea what it looks like, which is going to be very hard for you to meet their expectations. They're going to be disappointed. They're going to try and charge back and ask for a refund. Or they'll say, "Oh man, I want 6-pack, I want to get to this weight, and I want long flowing hair." And if you come tell me that, I'm like, whoa. I'm a sales success coach. Like I can't help you do any of those things. Right. So that's one of my favorite questions. Okay. I'll find a little bit about their business. I'll find a little bit about where they are in life. And I'll say, "Hey, what does success look like?" And that saved me a lot of headache because I'm like, "Look, what you're looking for, I don't do. And not even can't do. This comes back to the confidence. I just don't. So, hey, here's a recommendation. Here's someone you can work with." That saved me a lot of headaches. But it also makes it really easy if you do offer that value. You say, "Hey, well, listen, here's what success looks like to you. Here's what I do in my business. I can help you make that future success your present reality." And they say, "You can?" I'm like, "Absolutely. Sign here." Right. It's done.
Nice and easy. Because you have so much competition out there, but usually, because I was listening to Jordan Peterson as well, talking about the sales side of the house, and one of the things that he said that there are a lot of great products out there, and the thing about your product that differs from everybody else's is that the person doesn't want to be the first because they don't want to fail. That's the main goal, is that the company does not want to fail. Okay. They don't care about succeeding. They just don't want to fail, because when you fail, you fail in everybody else. And so he was just using the zebra concept, is that, the zebras don't really camouflage, obviously, anywhere in the savannah. The lion camouflages. But what the lion looks for is anything that distinguish the outliers. So if it's a smaller zebra, oh, okay, I could see that. But if you're in the herd with everybody else, blending in, looking healthy, it's not the lion won't attack that one. But if you, for some reason, an outlier, whether if you got the red tag or you were just in the dirt a little bit longer than everybody else, now the lion can identify you and attack you. So, and that's what he was pointing to, is like, when you're making a sale, everybody don't want to be the first, and then they don't want to be with everybody else, because if everybody else is doing it, you're already rich in your sales or whatever product you're selling. Mm-hmm. But also, they don't want to be the first, because then it look weak. So how do you fit into that mold of that in between? But I guess it goes back to what you were saying about the enthusiasm, is that if somebody else tells you, like, hey, at least they tried it out, or get a group of people to try it out and said that they loved it, and this is what it did for their business, to go to this person to then get that same product.
So there's a lot. This is a whole nother conversation. And I was doing some research on this yesterday. There's about 31, I believe it's 30.7 million small businesses in the United States. That's about 99% of businesses categorized as small businesses. However, they only, where you look, about 45% of jobs are supported by the small business, right? Mm-hmm. So it means the majority of jobs are from that smaller percentage of large companies. Another detail I found interesting, depending on the state, the average small business, which is interesting because they look at small business, anything less than 400 employees. So when I say small, it's not to be disparaging. It's just a category they put it in. The average small business, I found a range about $42,000 to about $65,000, and they have less than 3 employees. So that's a lot of data. What is that useful for? There's room for you. There's room for you to build $1 million business, because if the average people are doing 50,000, that lets me know that they're citywide, maybe regional, maybe. They're probably not multi-states. And so technology, currently we're recording this in 2022. You may be hearing this in 2023, it's towards the end of the year. Technology has given you a unique competitive advantage that you can reach tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people for free, and much more than that, exponentially more than that, with just a few advertising dollars. Why do I say this? You don't have a competition problem. You have an awareness problem. It doesn't matter how many companies there are if they've never heard of you. There could be one company. You could be the only company, but if no one's ever heard of you, you still don't exist. So it's not a saturated problem. The challenge that you have is much different. Is how do I clearly, confidently communicate the value I add and the problem I solve to as many people as possible, so they can tell me yes. So there's 5 steps I have to tell them yes. That's number 1. Is very simply just ask more people. You don't have to have any increase in skill. You don't have to have any special script or magical message. All you have to do is give more people the opportunity to tell you yes. That's the first thing anyone can do today to hear yes more often. I created my business by solving a problem that I had 10 years ago. I encourage everyone to be their authentic self, because someone is looking for you. Your job is just to help them make that easy. And so when you become your authentic self, that's something no one else can duplicate. You can go type in sales trainers. There's thousands of them. But you type in new skills, new you, I've got the first 2 pages. Mm-hmm. Why? Because I'm myself. I'm my authentic self. And that's what I encourage everyone to do. Be your authentic self and just tell more people. We can get to the other 4 when you're ready. Did I answer your question, sir? Great.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So that's a sales pitch right there. Make sure they follow it along each process.
I tell you, that's communication. That's right. Effective communication. They should never feel lost or uncertain. What are the next steps?
Yep.
Confused people don't buy. Sorry.
Yeah, that's true. That is so true. Because I got pitched an idea recently.
Was it a good pitch? Product. Not a good product. Was it a good pitch?
The pitch was horrible. So I told them to come back to me. And they came back to me much better. Because I was like, again, I need a sample. I'm not sure if it's in our society, in African American society, is that we need some type of product before we get behind it. like some type of proof of concept.
Hmm.
Versus other communities, they'd be like, well, hey, I just want to open up the storefront right quick, and everybody just flood them with money. But for us, it was not until we see the storefront, then we'll start flooding it. And that's one of the things that I noticed growing up. I'm not sure, has the experience been the same for you too, or no?
That's a whole semesters of lectures to cover this one. For anyone interested in the topic, Dr. Clyde Anderson, Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, and
Kimbrough's good.
Fraser. What is his name? Is it Walt? Walt Fraser, I believe. They explore those concepts very well. For now, I think that for the small business owner, for the person that's getting started, maybe it's one employee, maybe it's just you. Here's what you got to do to overcome this. If it's true or not, we're not going to argue that in this podcast. Here's what you can do. You have to be your success story. That's why I tell folks to brag. Bragging isn't for you. It's for the people trying to find you. They do want to see, I will concede this, they do want to see that it works. They want to see some success before they invest in you. That's the short version. Demonstrate some success. Success breeds success. So you're your first success story. Oh, Bruce, I don't have any clients yet. You're the first success story. That's why I built my business around helping me 10 years ago. I know what problems I had. I know how I struggled, and I know how I overcame them. And I help other people do the same.
Bada boom, bada bing. Like, so easy. All right. Now, you did have one formula that I really loved, and I had to pull it up because it was talking about if you had a nice question. I think you said, if you have X and you don't have to do Y, and then pretty much insert your product. And I was like, that is amazing. Is that one of your 13? So I think that's going to be one of 13 if it is.
If it's not, are you talking about the formula? Hey, if I can help you hear yes more often without sounding salesy, would you be willing to work with me?
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, that's X without Y. Shout out to CRC, amazing copywriter. She actually taught me that formula, and maybe I've used something similar in the past, but she helped document so we can use it over and over. So for your business to say, hey, let's say. You make candles. It doesn't matter. I support service-based businesses, but we use candles. Hey, I want your house to smell good without toxic chemicals and without spending hours cleaning. Buy some more candles.
Short and sweet.
All right, that one's free. That's free.
For any candle people out there, make sure you use that one. That one is cool. Oh man. So let's go on and dive on into the third segment here, which is the features. So what skills or habits do you feel that you need to take yourself to the next level?
Man, every skill that I teach, I learned from selling. They're not unique to selling, but I mastered them from learning to sell. So the first one is listening. Listening is a crazy skill. It's underrated, underpracticed. And that's parallel to asking better questions. You ask those better questions, you listen to the answer. You can learn so much, you can grow so much. So number one is listening. Number two is learning. You are dynamic. Any individual, Jim Rohn says, you're not a tree, you can move, right? So I encourage everyone to keep learning, especially after school. The average adult reads 0.8 books after high school. So that means they're either picking up books and not finishing them, or it takes them 5 years to read 4 books. Somebody check my math. And so all you got to do to be above average is read 1 book a year. That's easy. That's easy. That's 1 page a day. That's a book. You're done. You'll be done for Christmas. So listen, you learn. Confidence. Confidence is a skill. And that's why, again, I cannot overestimate the value of confidence. It's not about being the best. It's just knowing that I am my best today and getting better. Next one is communication. How do I take the knowledge and experience I have and share it with other people in an effective way? How do I articulate ideas? Communication is key. And then last but not least is pure sales. We could talk about overcoming objections. We can talk about value price positioning, pure sales psychology and techniques. So listening, learning, confidence, communication, and sales. And take any one of those skills, you level it up. You take all 5 of those skills, unstoppable. exponential growth. What do they call it? A quantum leap.
Quantum leap. Man. All right. That's a lot. Well, it's in its simplicity, in its simplest form. It's amazing. But obviously simple doesn't always mean easy. So you have to always got to put in the work and have the will and the drive to make sure that you want to take yourself to the next level. That's really good.
Consistency over intensity. I think it's a lot easier to do, 10 push-ups a day than do 50 push-ups once a week. And what happens is 7 days a week, 10 push-ups a day, that's 70 push-ups. You're still outperforming that person by 40%. And you're doing 20% of the daily effort. Somebody check my math.
Yo, what's up? It's Bruce Hill, New Skills and You. This is the B-roll. Y'all subscribe to the Patreon. I don't know if you guys are.
I dig up.
So he said, did he cover everything? I was like, no, man, I've been doing this for 15 years. There's so many stories that I didn't tell. And he said, like what? And then he hits the record button. I was like, this guy's good. So one of my favorite failures, I was doing really well in a company, and the strength and weaknesses that I know I can do better. And so they wouldn't promote me. There just weren't any spots, is what they said. I don't know. I'm like, all right, whatever, I'll go to a different company. So I moved to outside sales. So inside sales, you go to a building, customers come to you. Outside sales, there's no customers. You got to go find them. I didn't realize it, but that was my first entrepreneurial endeavor. So the first month, I make $0. Okay. I'm like, oh man, all right. First month jitters, no worries. The second month, I don't know how I pulled this off. I made $7. The third month, I made, I want to say $300 in commissions. All right. So keep in mind, this is 100% commission roll.
Right.
So if I don't make these commissions, I don't eat. Right. I don't know about you. 3 months is a long time to make $300. And so you have this moment. Do I pivot or do I persevere? You have that question. You have to ask yourself. You have a decision to make. And so I'm like, man, I know I can do this. I got to figure out what I'm doing wrong. And this is the lesson. I ask myself, what can I do differently? What do I need to do more of? Sometimes you're doing the right things. You ain't doing enough of it long enough. And then I said, what do I need to stop doing? That's an important question. Marshall Goldsmith wrote a book called What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And so he said, sometimes you're doing the things to become successful, and you're successful in spite of some negative behaviors. But if you let go of the negative behaviors, it's going to accelerate your success. One of my negative behaviors is I was disorganized, right? So inverse of that, I got to be more organized. So I go to the tech team. They meet at 6 a.m. on Wednesdays. I brought them some donuts. I go in there. I was like, I'm going to talk to them, get some more technical knowledge, get my skills up, right? One new skill will change your life. So I go in there, and they're like, who are you? I'm like, oh, hey, guys, I'm Bruce. And I interrupted me. They said, Bruce. And they grabbed me, and they sat me down in the chair in front of the room. And they're like, Bruce, you got to stop selling this stuff. I'm like, well, this is literally my job to sell stuff. What are you talking about? They're like, no, you're selling things that don't exist. And I was like, what? You're selling obsolete items that don't exist. So we go to your jobs. We got to throw it all the way, start over. That's why you're not getting paid. And I was like, oh my God, that's how bad the training was.
Right.
That's how bad the training was. The training was outdated. So I was just using the product codes that they gave me. Get a coach. A lot of people are really smart. Yeah, I can look it up on Google, on YouTube. Well, here's the thing. If you don't know the words to go Google, it will never occur to you to make that search. So a coach helps you fast track your success. There's no shortcuts, but it'll help you fast track your success. Number 2, I was talking to some of the veterans, 10 years, 15 years I worked there. And I was like, Bruce, you got to talk to more people. You're not talking to enough people. Number 2 is just ask more people. Give more people the opportunity to tell you yes. And then number 3 was, I already said, was organized. And so the next month, I tripled, which wasn't hard, right? It's $300.
Right.
But then I doubled again, and I doubled again. and I doubled again, and I never went backwards up until the month that I left. And that's one of the most powerful lessons I have, which is why when people are scared to get on IG Live or they're scared to talk on Clubhouse, I have no sympathy for them, because I know that they're not, forgive me, it was trigger warning, but you're not going to die as a result of those activities.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get better. And so many people are afraid of the path to success. That's where I push them and I challenge them, like, hey, how can you grow just a little bit today? So that's one of my favorite stories. That's one of my favorite stories, one of my favorite failures, and that I chose not to give. I think I should have given up earlier, but I'm glad that I didn't, because that lesson is very powerful, and I can help people skip those 3 months, particularly in their business, so that they don't have to have 3 months to make $300.
That is nice. That is an awesome story. Because it reminded me of a book to read if you guys like to read books. It's a short book. It's called The Dip. And
Seth Godin, that's a good one.
So that book, it talks about how do you decide to pivot or not to keep going and just pivot on out of there, or to keep going because the barrier of entry is different. And that's one of the things I love that. Right, so you ready for the final 4 questions?
I'm good. I'm ready.
All right.
Stay ready.
Number 1, what does wealth mean to you?
Wealth is measured in time. Wealth is how long you can maintain your standard of living without going to work.
All right. Number 2, what was your worst money mistake?
Man, pick a year. I made them. Not paying cars on time, not buying a house in 2005, not buying a house in 2015, not buying a house in 2020. That's on my to-do list for 23. What else? Co-signing for apartments, overdrafting accounts. That's one of the things I pride myself. I teach people so they can learn from my mistakes and benefit from my success. And I've made a lot more mistakes than some people have ever tried. And that makes me a phenomenal coach, because, again, simple isn't easy. And so I've already done it the hard way and the wrong way. And so I help people get there smoother and faster. So I think the biggest money mistake, man, from the many to choose from, is not learning about how money works earlier. Shout out to growth. Oh man, if I had not been, oh man. Okay, what's number 2? All right, what you got?
All right, number 3, what is your favorite financial or non-financial book?
Man, I've read 243 books in the past 5 years. So that's a very tough question. Shout out to Think and Grow Rich. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice by Dr. Dennis Kimbro, excuse me, which I had the pleasure of meeting him in Atlanta. Shout out to Dr. Kimbro.
Yeah, that's one.
Classic. I read it. Yeah. I read either that one or the original, or both, every single year. I have for the past 5 or 6 years. So let's see here. And then as an individual, he's but the book has some solid principles. You got to go with Rich Dad Poor Dad.
I feel you on that one.
Yeah, if we're talking pure, just money and mindset.
Yeah, don't worry about the individual. All right, number 4. What is your favorite dish to make?
Someone else asked me this last week, and I like to experiment. I've made food from, South American countries, different regions of the United States, European countries. I got to narrow that down: French, Italian, Spanish. But I've really been diving into East African dishes. There's a huge difference there.
Mm-hmm.
And just trying different cuisines from India as well. So my answer for that one is tough. I like to experiment. It's the dish I haven't tried yet.
Nice. One of the things that I'm picking up is a theme from you is that you're an experimenter.
Yep.
Just try it all.
And that's what makes me so fantastic in sales. I know I'm going to mess up a dish. I know that this business is going to fail. And they're like, oh, Bruce, you shouldn't be negative. But one thing that sales taught me is that failure is the path to learning, and failure is the path to success. And so when I stop, and that's why confidence is so important to understand that's who you are and who you are not. You recognize that if I fail at something and people are like, well, you shouldn't, it's not, what do they call it? It's not a loss, it's a lesson. Like, no, if the goal was to make, 100,000 and you made 90, you failed. But I don't look at it as a bad thing, because if the year before I did 40,000, how upset am I really? Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's over 100% increase. So I learned to set my goals really high so that I fail beyond my previous limits. Okay. I learned to set my goals really high so I fail beyond my previous limits. So if I used to be able to do 2, I'm going to go for 20. And what happens is I end up hitting 10. And that's such a beautiful thing, right? If I started at 2, I aim for 20, I hit the 10, you're like, man, I failed. I only got 50% to go. But here's the thing. If you start at 2 and you set your goal for 4, you're going to hit 4. And that's probably one of the most tragic successes you can have, because you could have gone 2.5 times above that. And that's what it spilled into other areas of my life where I'm okay if I mess up a dish. Any day I wake up is another chance to win. So as long as I don't don't make a fatal error, I'm pretty happy, whether that's in the kitchen, whether it's on the phone with a potential client, or a business venture. And so, yeah, that's a very good observation. I'm willing to fail, and I learn as much as I can through those failures so I can help other people skip them.
That's your new mission. But it's like, it's not your new mission, but it's something you've been doing already.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. All right. So if people want to get in touch with you and start working out with you, where could people go to find you?
Oh, I love this question. Man, I'm easy to find. If you Google New Skills, New You, I got all the search results, articles, podcast interviews. Shout out to About the Water podcast. If you want to tap in, I'll tell you right now, if you're listening to this, hit newskillsnewyou.com, grab a pre-order of the book. And I'm doing something a little different. I'm going to mention everyone that pre-orders. I'm going to mention you in the book. So if you have a business, you want to put in your Instagram handle, sure, it's on the form, fill it out. And then I'm going to do something else. I want to keep adding, I think I mentioned some worksheets. Those are going to be in there. Those can be no additional charge. I'm just going to keep adding value. I'm going to do live Q&A each week up until the book's release, because I want to add so much value. You're like, yo, this is a good deal. I want the value to far outweigh the cost. And I've already done that. And I'm going to continue to do that. So that's probably the best way where you can start taking some of this knowledge in a little bit more in depth. So, we've got the 5 ways to hear yes more often. We've got what to say when they say no. So you can take those and start applying them to your life and your business today. And my goal for you is to make more money while being your authentic self. So tap in newskillsnewyou.com. First link there would be the pre-order of the book. And it's New Skills New You everywhere. I'm big on Fanbase. Shout out to Fanbase. Where socially, that's a good place to find me.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. And everybody, if you out there, if you got any value out of this episode, make sure that you share this with a friend. Share this with a family member that is struggling or just kind of feel low, or even just somebody that you're really excited about and want to see them succeed. This is the episode for you. So make sure you share this, and I will hopefully to see you all at your best in the future. All right, everybody. Gotta be safe. Wow.
Peace.